Hey everyone, it's Ivan with KidBadger.com, out here with my posse,
Jada, Ira,
Tanya, and Knuckles. And today we're going to share a pretty awesome 3-day, 2-night adventure we had up in the mountains.
When we first started, it was pretty nice. We had to go over a bridge, and we started by taking a picture and doing a head count. And then we started hiking. It was pretty steep most of the way, like not super steep, but like steep when you have a heavy feels steep when you have a heavy backpack. We hiked up like 3 or 4 miles, and we got to a bunch of snow. And pretty much, almost everyone was just like, dang it. And then we started walking across the snow. It was so deep. It was like at least 4 to 6 feet deep of snow. And that was just and it was all packed down. It was like all solid. It was really deep, and I couldn't imagine how deep it was in the winter. But then we ended up getting to where we were. A few grown-ups went looking around for some campsites. They didn't really find any good spots. On the way there, we saw this really nice little lake, the lower lake. So when we couldn't find any good camp spots, because like everything was covered in snow, we ended up deciding to go back to the lower one. It was pretty much from the way down. It was a little bit easier on the way down because we weren't going uphill on snow. And then right when we got to the trailhead, everyone was just kind of taking a little break, and it started pouring, and me, my brother, were just like, ah. So yeah, and then we had to hike down, which was quite miserable considering how hard it was raining and how far we've already hiked. But we eventually got to this little spot, and we had some people go there, stay there, some of the people, which one of them was me, because I did not want to hike any further. But while the other people went and looked for some another good camp spot, they ended up finding a better one, and they got us, so we had to hike a little bit further. But when we got there, we got to rest under some trees, which blocked most of the rain, which occasionally there was just like a drop or two of water. And we got all set up, and for some reason, after pouring for like 2 hours, it started to go downhill. But not when we were hiking, after we got done hiking. So that was not fun. But after it stopped raining, we played a little bit. Some people did some fishing, I believe, and then we went to bed. Well, after making a fire and eating food. ECT. And yeah, then we went to bed.
Dad, can you help me get this together before the club come over here and start doing it?
That next day, we ended up breaking up into 2 groups, high adventure and low adventure. As my son Jad had mentioned, we initially hiked up to the lake we were supposed to camp at that first night, about 4 miles in, and it was iced over, most of it. Nothing but snow, no dry ground. So we decided to go back about 1 mile down, camp at the lower lake. But the next day, even though we'd kind of already decided we weren't going to do that initial big loop, about 15 to 18 miles over the course of 3 days, we decided we would at least go up and check out the pass. So some of us ended up sticking around, or some people ended up sticking around. One of the adults and a handful of kids, to include both my boys, basically hung out, caught frogs, did fishing, just kind of played around. The rest of us set out for the mountain pass. And we started out pretty much just hiking up and eventually got into snow. Fortunately, we were working off of some like GPS maps, got ourselves more or less on the trail most of the time, and headed up there. Eventually, after making it through quite a bit of snow, kind of crossed a big like rock field and then got to the base of where the pass was. And there was still quite a bit of snow right up there at the pass, even though there was tons of sunlight on it because of solar aspect. And it was one of those places where falling absolutely had consequences. So first, my buddy, Bill Rapier, he ended up kind of scouting it out, and then we essentially set up a lane, sent people up one at a time, had a couple adults down below to stop people should anyone actually start sliding, falling down. But we ended up making it up to the top. Incredible, like beautiful view from up there. Explored around, and yeah, no, it was really neat. After that, we ended up coming down, took a short break, had some food. I took a little power nap for 10-15 minutes, felt really good. And then ended up making our way back down the mountain, back to where our camp was. Overall, that day trip, probably right around 5 miles or so, but it was pretty neat getting up there and checking out that pass. The rest of that day, kind of spent around camp, just hanging out, doing a little bit of fishing, and yeah, starting some fires also. We ended up having a fire challenge. Basically, you had X amount of time to get a fire going or to gather materials for a fire rather. Then you had another X amount of time, well, kind of indefinite at that point, but so you could get a fire going fastest with the intent of it needed to be going to the point where you're burning stuff about as big as your index finger. So we ended up doing that. And eventually got into that night and yeah, had another big fire and ultimately had a really good time finally crashing out.
Last morning, we woke up, did some packing, did a little bit of fishing, and then we saw this cave while we were fishing. So we decided to go hike up there. It was like up on a hill, pretty steep.
Guys, you gotta stop and wait out for people.
We got up there, couldn't go all the way up. One of the grown-ups took a look inside, just a cave. And then hiked back down pretty hard. And then went back, ate some snacks, and walked down, went over a bridge, and went back to our cars.
And then to wrap the entire adventure off, coming back down the mountain on the dirt road, got a flat tire, front passenger side. But it was the fastest I've ever had a tire change because basically I had a full-on pit crew. Everyone pitched in, got done super fast. It was awesome. Overall, definitely an incredible trip. It was really cool. There was largely a bunch of fathers and sons, as well as some, I guess technically everyone's someone's son, but a bunch of other like young adults and stuff too. And it was really cool being able to get out there and have that uninterrupted time. No cell phones work. The only reason they were there is for pictures and stuff like that. And yeah, no, it was a good time just being out there, getting fires going and spending time with loved ones as well as friends, and all together just rad time. What about you guys? Did you guys enjoy it?
Yes.
Sorta.
Sorta.
I had a lot of fun, except
just
for the
kidding.
rain part.
I
That
like
was nowhere near fun.
The rain part, you know what? I actually enjoyed the rain part. The reason I enjoyed the rain part is because, like with pretty much everything in life, if you skate through and everything is wonderful, honestly, at a certain point it gets hard to appreciate it. So with all of the rain, it definitely made us appreciate the weather for the rest of the trip, because we really only had about an hour or so of rain coming down from that upper lake. But yes.
The rain, the only reason it was miserable was I would know that we're not just going to walk back to the car. We're not walking just back to the car.
They also, in fairness, had like street tennis shoes on, which were not very helpful. But it was a rad trip, and I'm glad I was able to share it with everyone that was on it, to include my boys. But as always, thanks for joining us at KitBadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.